Hello, I'm Addison Morris with the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. And while Mandy's trying to fix her sound, I will just chat a little bit. I founded the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce out of a need to help more women at one time. I was in, I got into the cannabis industry around 2010 through my marketing company. And I felt that one of the needs that was not being addressed and that was coming down the pike, well, there were several needs, but one was bringing women together that were going to go into business and offering them the same type of benefits, resources, and networking that traditional chambers of commerces do. And initially, I started it as the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. And within a matter of months, it was very apparent that it needed to be the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. I have this philosophy that when you bring women together and we sit down at a table, business happens. And prior to doing my first women's event within the cannabis venue, and we're talking back in the day where this was not legal, and there was no rec, although there was already medical marijuana in Colorado, and it's not something I initially thought of getting into. And I I want to mention I'm 70 years old. So being 70, I came of age in the 60s. And so my experience with cannabis was in college, and it was a whole lot of fun. And then life got serious because at the same time in the 60s, a lot of what's going on right now was happening. And I was very involved in the women's movement and also very disappointed that the RA amendment was never passed. I have not stopped being a radical feminist.
What is the RA movement? What does that mean for people? They're wondering.
The RA?
Yes.
The Equal Rights Amendment.
Okay.
And it's still on the books, and it still not have been ratified by all the states. I was disappointed because I felt that as women, we don't have the same advantages in business as men do. And that women, we do business differently. And this whole thing with equal rights is just a bunch of bullshit, ladies. We don't have equal rights. It's an illusion. So coming into the cannabis industry, I got into that as an industry because I saw that as our opportunity as women, and also not only as women, but as any entrepreneur. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. This is like the gold rush or the oil boom. We're never, ever, ever going to get this chance again in our lifetime. And that we could take this opportunity to move beyond empowerment into positions of being CEOs, not only of our own companies, but of our own lives. And I initially started out in marketing, social media marketing in the cannabis industry and business development. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I started my first business at 18 here in Colorado because my parents had cut off my money and my scholarships ran out. And my first business I started with the arrogance and the ignorance of youth and lost my ass and continued in business. But the one thing I learned, I saw your interview with Carla Boyd with Hemp Food. I think she's an amazing example of how to do business right in this industry, and it's about sticking to it and not going down the rabbit holes. But the other thing that she brings up when you talk with her is about the knowing your numbers. And that's why I lost my first business, was I didn't know my numbers. And this was before QuickBooks. This was before the internet, because I'm like that old. And my education in regards to how to do business does not have anything to do with my degree in business. It has to do with, I think, 48 years in business, and it's not been the same business. It has been what has kept me in business all those years is paying attention to trends and marketing. And earlier when we were chatting with David, I'm just, what he is saying is true. We are each the marketing person for our own company. So in working with women who were launching businesses in the cannabis industry and working with them on writing their business plans, their marketing strategies. And that's the most unpopular thing to talk about, because there's no entrepreneur out there. When you say, do you have a business plan? They're going, oh, it's up here. Well, is that how you take your vacations? Is that how you plan for your kids' college? I mean, is that how you redo your living room? It's up here. Well, maybe on your living room. Yes, but you need a plan. And what I found was I would end up pitching to the investors for my clients because my clients had never read the business plan. I'd get them money. They'd have a party. They'd throw out that business plan because shit, they already got what they wanted. And 2 years later, they're back saying, can you rewrite this because we need to solicit for more money? So with the chamber, I wanted to give women the things that I thought they really needed to function and to create their businesses, like resources, networking, education, mentoring. And Corona changed a lot of that because we can no longer do the networking that connects you with the right people. No longer do our mentoring brunches. We can no longer do in-person education. So I think, like most people, most businesses, it's like, shit, what do we do now? So it took a while to regroup to provide benefits for the members that were relevant, because we never have had time for bullshit. And right now, more than ever, we do not have time for fluff or bullshit. And we also do not have time for to be empowered. It's, where is empowerment going? There's a second part to that. You can't take empowerment to the bank. Empowerment gets you to where you're going. And this is not a transition. This is a leap. And you need to leap into it now. You need to take control of your business. You need to take control. And when you take control of your business, you're taking control of your life. And you're changing the destiny, just not of you and your children, but of generations to come. It only takes one person to make that family wealth. And it also takes one person to lose it, one generation to lose it.
Yeah.
You know, so with the chamber, so what we came up with, and we just launched, like last week, is the Women Cultivating Success Business Directory.
Okay.
Now, I use the Women Cultivating Success in order to hold events in areas where Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce would not be as acceptable. Now, I want to say, in talking about marketing, I would never say, I would advise my clients never to do a business named Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. There's cannabis in it. So right away, you're going to have problems. And then also try typing that out. Try typing out Addison at Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce.com. But who we are. And the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce is not a flash in the pan. My approach is slow and steady, and building this one community, one city, one state, one business, one woman at a time, building this so that it is a solid foundation. And so I use Women Cultivating Success in regards to the conferences, because I think we really do need to be respectful of not offending people. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't want people smoking cigarettes around me, but, you know, they have the rights to do that. So, you know, I don't want to be offensive. So I took the name Women's Cannabis Chamber, or Women Cultivating Success, which is like the best name ever. And I did not come up with it. A woman named Dana Wallace with 420 Real Estate out of California gave me the name. And it is the best name ever. So I use that for the Women Cultivating Success Business Directory. And it is live, and it is, I think, kind of old school, not because I'm old, but because I think this is the way to go. It is straightforward, no bullshit, no fluff. And it's not about selling the listings. It's not about selling you a membership. It's not about selling you a listings, because the listings are free right now. It's not about you doing Google AdSense or any of that. It's about promoting the businesses. And what makes that different than the other ones out there is just that. It's all about the businesses. It's about marketing the businesses, and I have a marketing strategy. And seriously, if you're in business, you need a business plan. You need cost projections. You need a business strategy. And then you need to get up every day and work on that. You cannot have in the beginning, you cannot depend on someone else to do your social media. Everything you do represents who you are.
Yes.
Okay, I could go on and on. Just jump in there, Mandi.
We were just talking about this, right? That really every person is their own brand. Every person needs to be representing themselves. What type of opportunities do you see out there that women should be paying attention to in the cannabis industry? There are so many people that are unaware, or that look into the industry and think bud tending, or somebody at a dispensary, or there are so many jobs that involve hemp and cannabis that it's eye-opening to me when I even describe what opportunities are out there. So what do you see as really big opportunities right now?
Wow. Okay. So one of the problems I thought the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce would solve for me, that and what it provided would eliminate the multitude of emails and texts and Facebook messages that I get every day on how to get into the cannabis industry.
Same.
And they're never from members. This is what gets me. They are never from members of the chamber. And I'm going, well, maybe that's because the member base already has their shit together. So it has changed a lot since 2016. The way to get, I think that there are opportunities in everything out there. I mean, if you're a CPA, if you're in human resources, I think one of the biggest areas is that there are opportunities just from where I sit, because I this may vary on what your view, what you read, what you look at. Is I believe that the areas that I think too, the easier ones to get into are compliance, HR, and I think for women, I would encourage them right now to get into extraction and concentrates, because that's a very male-dominated area. And in regards to bud tending, here in Colorado, most of the managers and upper-level people started as bud tenders 2 or 3 years ago. So my answer when people say, I have a set answer, the email that I send out, because now cannabis jobs are listed on Indeed. Cannabis jobs are listed online. I suggest that they employ a cannabis staffing agency. They can help them write their resume, to read everything they can, to read the online magazines, sit in on Zoom calls. Back in the day, I would have said go to conferences. But now this is all we have. But growing pot in your basement is not a qualification to get into this industry. And if you don't want to piss people off, do not say, can I pick your brain? Because we don't have any more brains left to pick, because we're too busy running our own stuff. And it's not personal. I mean, I would love to be able to sit down and talk with each woman going into business. But then again, I talk about business plans and strategies and marketing. And the ones who don't want to hear that, they're not here.
Sure, that's fair. We do a lot of business talk around our tables too. And really this, as much as the face-to-face events, I miss them, it's amazing how many more conversations we can have in a Zoom meeting when you can break off into groups, and how efficient we've become in getting things done and completing supply chains. And it's been fun. It's been very, very impressive.
One of the other things that we were talking about before we went live, that we had exchanged in emails, is the importance of all these groups coming together. We all have the same goals. We're all going. We all have the same end goal, and we're just taking some different paths to it. And if we can collaborate or even open up those discussions as the various associations across the country, that I think that we can offer our members, our patrons, our comrades, our other women, other entrepreneurs, both men and women. I mean, because realistically, it's not about just women. You know, a woman entrepreneur is just not that woman. It's her husband, her
Yes.
father, ask Carla. Her son makes hemp burgers. I mean, you know, we are a package deal, you know, and so I don't want to, you know, take men out of the equation because they are part of our businesses, you know.
I've become very aware of the strength that comes with surrounding yourself with strong men, because men are also great support, right? They really are. But there undoubtedly is a difference between a female and a male in this industry, and the statistics and the way business is done. And what women are able to accomplish often is brought up, right? Is compared to other counterparts or other people. And so it's fascinating to me, the strength that comes as women come together, right? So tell me, how do people get involved in the Chamber of Commerce, and what do your meetings typically look like now? What are you guys doing right now to stay together and stay connected?
Oh, I think it's a really good question. Because with Corona, it's like everybody just scattered.
Yeah.
You know, everyone handled it differently. I mean, you know, the core group, and you know, so that really not surprised me, but I found that very interesting, how everyone reacted. Now, you know, since everyone involved in the chamber have their own businesses, so you know, my approach to that was concentrate on your own company. You know, concentrate on your business right now. You know, the only thing that I have, I just sit here and do the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, and you know, and then connect doing Zoom and lots of emails and texts and that type of thing. But the focus really is not on the chamber; it's on keeping them in business, keeping them financially stable and successful, and growing. Because if each one of them can grow and bring more people into their businesses, I believe that we can soften the economic depression that we are in, that we can shorten that time period. And I think coming together and doing that will lead us to federal legalization, which, you know, even though we're talking cannabis, that affects hemp, affects the attitude towards hemp. It's all tied in. It's not cannabis or hemp. Just like it doesn't seem to be CBD or hemp. It's all the same. It's not all the same. I don't like about it for business. It's important to keep all of these stable, financially successful, and growing to move into the future. So the one thing that we have at this moment is the directory, and that's it for now. We've got there's other things that are coming, but I also do not do that. Oh boy, we've got great things coming. You know, I don't do this kind of Facebook post. Sure, we've got great things coming, but they're not here. You know, when they're here, I will tell you. But I mean this because I get all excited. Go, oh boy, they got great shit coming. They got great shit coming. What was it? Where is it? You know, just not get. Who has time for that?
You got to follow through, right? You got to be able to follow through with it and know where it's at.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they do. I just missed the doggone post. I mean, I don't know. So, some of the things that I put in place when I thought we were going to go into shutdown early March, I'm going, we're in trouble. I got venues. I canceled the venues we had. I rebooked across the country.
Yeah.
With the intentions of doing the women's Cultivating Success conferences, which, let me look, would have been, the first one's February. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in person because I do not think that we are going to be a healthy country at that time.
Right, right.
So we've come up with an alternative solution, which we're still working on. So yeah, I mean, in theory, I've got a lot of great things happening. We'll just see if they all work out because we're living in a time where everything's so unpredictable. But what's not unpredictable is that people still need the products. They need cannabis. They need accountants. They need attorneys. They need definitely CBD products. I mean, we're still in a business that is doing fairly well, and we need to continue that.
Absolutely. So my favorite part about being in the seat that I am and connecting people is understanding and kind of knowing what's coming and what people are doing. The connectivity piece is my favorite part, right? What's your favorite part about the association? The coaching and the mentoring? Or would you say about the Chamber of Commerce?
The results.
Okay.
The results. I mean, and you know what I'm talking about. There is something like so cool when you see success, when you see people, the fruits of their labor. Oh yeah, that's what I like. Is seeing the success because I know how hard they worked. I know what they sacrificed. I know the backstories. I mean, we all know the backstories of patients because we've heard them. You don't hear the backstories of the entrepreneurs. You don't hear how hard they work. You don't hear the nights that they cried at 3 a.m. because they're going, what have I done? You don't hear those. And so when you see the success, it is just, that's the best high ever.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Yeah. And equally as much as the entrepreneur, right? Those nights where you do cry and then the next day when you have a success, you're like, okay, you just need to be reminded why you're doing this and why you keep pushing forward. And this industry really is a thriving industry right now. It's doing well and we have to push through. It's definitely got its challenges as it's new, but it's definitely not going anywhere. I mean, it is moving up.
And Corona's brought in another set of challenges. And then I think the
opportunities.
And what?
And opportunities. It's brought a crazy amount of doors open and opportunities.
Okay, I totally agree with you. And I do say this. Look for the opportunities. They're there. Pay attention. There's opportunities. There are new little niche markets coming up. My family made their money during the Depression because they looked for opportunities. They were farmers and they looked for opportunities. And it changed my generation and my nieces and nephews and their children. That one person seizing upon an opportunity, and they're here now. There's opportunities. You just got to really pay attention, which again is difficult when you look and you think, oh my God, my business it's over. I invested all this. My mother told me not to do this, and I did it. And, my husband is pissed because I'm losing all his money. And, here I am, and it's hard to just stay focused. It's hard to just stay on track because there's so many little rabbit holes to go down. There's so many shiny objects that distract us.
I have the shiny pen. I have a shiny penny syndrome. It's
real. Oh,
especially in this industry, especially sitting around the table when we're talking about new plastics and new construction materials and new textiles and supply chains and labor laws and, you know, manufacturing opportunities and, I mean, education, all of it. I'm like, what? Wait, what? All this has to be done? So, yeah, it's tricky,
Yeah.
tricky for sure. So, speaking of all this success that you're seeing, who's doing it right in the industry? What women out there, or what businesses in the cannabis and hemp space are really crushing it? Who can we give a shout out to?
Oh, that would be an incredibly long list. Wow.
Carla, we just interviewed, and shout out to her. I actually ordered some of her.
Oh my
meat.
gosh, it's a great product. And Carla's one of my favorites because I've known her forever and she has stayed the course.
Yeah.
You know? And she's a really good example of how to do a business right because she stayed the course. Hi, Carla, if you're listening. And she's trusted her heart on it. It's her passion. I mean, you know, so if you're in the beginning of a business and you're looking over there and it's going, wow, you know, that's a really good concept. I could do that. Then you shouldn't be in the business you're in because you're not passionate about it. You know, you're not dedicated enough to it. Wow, no, I mean, the list of women who are doing it right is just incredible.
I would love introductions. I'd love to highlight them on here. I'd love to share what they're doing and, you know, highlight those that are doing it right. That's why I want to do this. So if you ever want, I would love intros. If there's ever any time you want to bring somebody on and give them a shout out, I would love it.
Wow, I will send you a list because there's so many women out there who are doing incredible things that have never gotten any press, who have never gotten any recognition. And the only thing that's different is because the women who are just better at marketing. You know, marketing is everything and everything is marketing.
I think that there's a lot of people who would agree with you. I also hear in this industry, and give me feedback here because this is something that comes up a lot. Invest in lobbying over marketing. What's your opinion with that statement?
It depends on what your business is and where you're at in your business. I think that applies to the multi-million-dollar businesses and companies to invest in. Now, there's another area that people I think should get into is lobbying.
Yes.
But for the businesses that are maybe showing $1 million and less in revenues, and again, revenues does not mean that's what you're making.
Right.
I think they need to invest in marketing, and they don't have the money to put into lobbyists, or they need to invest in NCIA because they do. I mean, there are associations out there who focus on lobbying, who focus on that part of it. I mean, there's some great associations out there that cover just about everything. And, you know, but as a medium-sized to small business, put it all in marketing. But then you better have the product to back it up. I mean, you know, you can have the most brilliant marketing campaign, but if you don't have a good product, I mean, everything comes down to quality of product and quality of your word.
Yes. Yeah. It's what lasts, right? The hardest sell is reselling the same product over and over again. And once you've hit all of your customers, you wear it out and business ends. It may skyrocket and then dive, but it's definitely that reoccurring customer is where you find success.
Well, it has always been easier to do business the right way, you know, instead of the wrong way. You know, I think one of the things that took people by surprise here in Colorado were the amount of scammers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, outright con men who came in and well, or con people.
Yeah.
We don't expect that of women, so I think it throws us off more. But I mean, there are people out there who are running businesses that you're going like, how can they stay in business? Because what they're offering is not a good product, not good customer service. And you do need really, really good customer service, because with the customer is what makes your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this is not. I'm not telling anybody anything new.
Sure.
Just we all know it, and it's much easier to do it the correct way than do it the wrong way, because you just can't keep stopping and trying to fix what you did.
What are go ahead.
No, go on.
What are the majority of your membership? What's the type of business they're in?
CBD.
Okay. Is it, and what about from farm to distribution, or where are most of them focused? Are most of them vertically integrated?
Okay, my membership base is all women.
Right.
And they're all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing the directory, I'm not entering this as a mass. I'm not uploading.
Yeah.
I'm not uploading my list. I'm individually entering everything, because I'm also going for a look on this. And it's taken me a long time, because I'm going, wow, that's a really cool business. Oh, that's a really cool business, or that's a great website, or, and just with everything, I see that, okay, I'm a recluse because I'm OCD and I love research and I love knowing stuff. And so the numbers on that, 60%, approximately 60% are in CBD companies.
Uh-huh.
The rest is equally divided between cannabis and hemp.
Uh-huh.
And as far as I do have women farmers.
Okay.
And most of those are coming out of my area, Southern Colorado. Okay. And I think that it's equal in regards to with the remaining 40% is equal with hemp and cannabis.
Awesome. Do you have very many people pushing or women in industrial manufacturing or textiles or plastics? That's where I have really drawn a lot of passion, and where my before getting into this, even I'd say over the last 6 months, I was so unaware of how broken supply chains are, and in the textiles industry, the fashion industry and the labor laws attached, and the manufacturing and the imports and the fraud. And it's just been eye-opening and become a passion of mine, right? And the more I talk about it, it's just not, there's not a lot of people in the hemp textile space yet. And there's not a lot of people exploring plastics and biofuels. And so it's been fun and a little bit intimidating, to be a little vulnerable, being in the room with some very, very intelligent men, and being a woman that I really don't know a lot sometimes.
Okay, I find some of the networking events that we were doing extremely intimidating, because I would be in the room with some really smart people, women from Ivy League colleges. I'm going, oh, yes, and science and doctors.
Yes.
And it's just amazing. This is an incredible industry. Mm-hmm. Incredible. But what you were talking about, the plastics, now I think that would be good career advice for someone coming out of college. I think hemp is really the way of the future. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good investment. If you're a young person, I think it's a good investment in your future, to start going in that direction. Ideally, it would be wonderful if the world started to become more biodegradable in what we used,
Yes.
Um,
And
but,
our kids
but
are who are going to change that. They're going to change the world with it.
well, and people like you are going to change the world with it, with your passion and passing it on to your children. You
Yeah, for
know,
sure.
yeah, you are a game changer in that. And everyone that gets up out of bed every morning and works in hemp, cannabis, or CBD, we are all changing the future. This is not some little mom and pop business you're creating. You're creating a better future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how do people get in touch with you, Addison? If they
Oh,
have questions or they want to join the membership, what's your membership structure look like right now?
okay. The membership structure right now, um, you get the premium listing on the women cultivating business Women Cultivating Success Business Directory, which is an equally as long word as the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. And all of these are a reflection of how long my passwords are. They're they're affirmations. So I mean, so if you look, you can find us on Facebook, and on all social medias. Although I keep getting shut down on Facebook, and I'm really behaving nicely on Facebook, except for this interview. Um, so we do have a fan page for both the Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. We're on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
We've got a fan page for Women Cultivating Success. We're easy to find. Google us. And if you don't the first time, keep Googling us, because seriously, the email is Addison at Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce.com. Or my personal one is Women's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce at gmail.com. And I mean, yep, that's it. And so the way it's set up now, the membership is for 1 year. It's a 1 year listing. Right now it's set at 20 pictures for the gallery, absolutely everything that I could think of. And what I'm finding is no one is utilizing the gallery. I mean, you can make this, and also menus, appointments. I mean, if you're selling, menu is not food, it's the menu of your products. So, put that up there. Put as many pictures as you like, because there's a marketing strategy to promote this, to promote everybody as a whole. Then the membership also, and that's 275. It also includes a 2 year extended membership for conferences, classes, booths, and everything that we think will be happening. So if that's not, so that part of it will be extended until it does happen. Because it's all about getting the most bang for your buck. And I want to give the members as much bang for their buck, because I have been an entrepreneur all my life. I've been that little businesswoman. I've been out there where I was my only resource. And I've got to tell all of you entrepreneurs, when it comes down to it, you are your best resource. And your second best resource is all those people who love you.
For sure.
You
So,
know, so I keep extending. So I've extended all of the 2020 memberships for as long as it takes to get a event up and going.
awesome. So, what do you see in the future of, I mean, knowing all of the ups and downs that the industry's experienced and where some of the pitfalls have been and where we've overcome, and I feel like they've just kind of moved around as we've solved problems and moved to something else. Where do you see in the near future some challenges that we may be facing that may not be discussed or talked about very often, or that new people coming into the industry are maybe unaware of?
Well, I think the problems that we encounter are very much the same that are encountered in any industry.
Okay.
Now, doing business in this industry is different than doing business in any other industry. Because initially I didn't think it would be, but it totally is.
And
And
how? Why do you say that? Okay, what are some reasons?
Well, we're in a federally illegal business. We can't advertise or market. So, all we have is online, which everyone has been brilliant at. I mean, I think this everyone who's in this are just geniuses and adapted and got on this right away. So I mean, just being those restrictions really change it, but we do have some of the same problems that other businesses have, industries have: sexual harassment,
Sure.
inequality, the glass or grass ceiling. I mean, we have those problems. And in the beginning, I naively thought that because it was cannabis and because we were coming from the plant cure people direction, that I don't know that everybody was more evolved with higher consciousness.
Or
And that's
integrity.
not true.
Very
It attracts all kinds. I think hemp and cannabis, the industries, I encourage anyone to get into it and everyone, but don't be stupid about it. Really do your research, really
well,
study.
and that it's a business, right? There's a big difference. We have a lot of people that have come into the industry and it's been a hobby, and we're talking about making it a real scalable business, and the difference in hiring an accountant and following best practices and depositing your money and having your checks and balances. And there's so many pieces that I think, not to the fault of the people in business, but to the fault that we've come from an industry where those practices haven't happened and they haven't been allowed to be practiced and happened because of banking restrictions and because of transportation permits. I mean, how many billions of dollars went across our roads in suitcases last year? Billions and billions of dollars, And so stuff like that really, shame on the industry for not having that type of, or shame on whoever, right? But those are types of things, I can't even blame it on anybody, but those are types of things that I don't think were very clearly thought out, prior to putting this up.
No,
right?
I don't think anything initially was thought out. I mean, Colorado's been an experiment in this, because
Sure.
when you look at the people who came into this industry, we're entrepreneurs. It's different. I mean, the people came from all backgrounds, real estate, banking, car hop. I mean, it's just, anyone whenever the people who looked at this and go, oh my God, there's an opportunity, they're a different breed of people. I mean, entrepreneurship is a disease.
It's my favorite, but you're right.
It's incurable. You can't help yourself. So we had people coming in with all types of background, and there were no rules.
Yeah.
So we had to make them as we went along, and that's a hard way to start out in a business.
That even goes down to knowing, and this is something I've learned just recently, understanding when we're setting a lab up, say, for extraction, right? What guidelines are they following? And until recently, we haven't started to bring a lot of other guidelines from other practices into the cannabis space, and they're just now starting to come in, where really we have better understanding of what's expected and what everybody should be doing. But even then, it's been very rocky. And so it's hard to place fault through this. And I think surrounding yourself with a powerful group of successful women and successful entrepreneurs. I think you keep saying something that resonates with me, because there's a big difference in somebody in business and somebody that's an entrepreneur. I think entrepreneur it's a starting a business and running a business and being able to scale and then later exit it's a disease. It's awesome. I love it. That's what you want to call it. But opportunity in the cannabis and hemp space has been fascinating. It's everywhere. It's in every facet of every industry, of every vertical. And really, whoever you are, it affects us. My aha moments were that, I compare it to technology. There's technology in everything we do, from our light switches to the way that things are painted, to paint on the walls, to everything. And hemp's the exact same, and more, right? And so my passion sits around sitting in a room with people that are smarter than I am. And for a year and a half, I went to every event I could, and everybody that raised their hand, I buddied up with, because I want to know. I always say, if you're smart enough to ask questions, you understand what's going on. 9 out of 10 times when I started and then we would talk about extraction, it went over my head in sentence 1, right? So I didn't understand and I couldn't ask. And so my advice was always to people, well, how do you get to know people? And I would always say, I would find the people that were asking questions. I would buddy up next to them and I would just listen, because as soon as they would ask, I would be able to understand it a little bit better, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And so it's been fascinating.
And you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I know to be true as an old person is that I was wrong about everything and I know nothing. you know, because there is just so much to know. And I point blank say to people, how does that work? Because extractions and all of that and concentrates, I'm totally confused on. I had nothing that would, I knew nothing. I mean, how would you? And the same thing about the different, it is so complex. And I'm just now learning more and more about hemp.
Yeah. Yep. It's been fascinating. So what are your other passions? What else? I mean, outside of the association and entrepreneur and watching people succeed, do you personally have a farm or invested in a cannabis and hemp company?
No.
No, I'm not either. And I always say I'm the anomaly, but yeah, no. So you're just, this is your,
no, and neither that does not interest me. I came into this not as a cannabis activist, but as a human rights activist, and not as a patient, but I'm probably technically a patient because we all are. No, I want to, my passion is equal rights for women. Is equal rights in general across the board. That's what my passion is, and I see this industry as our opportunity to do that. I have five things I do well in life, and I'd be a fool to go and try to do anything but those 5. Although I do have tried, and I know that these are my 5 things: and marketing, organizing, all this back stuff I can do, and I can bring people together. And in bringing people together, that's all you have to do. Just put them in that place and business happens and information happens. I'm a one-trick pony, marketing, entrepreneurship, and business development. And, I swear I was born a feminist.
Okay. And so what's your piece of advice? What's your advice to women that are in business in a male dominant industry? How do we set up for the best success moving into this and moving into a business where not only is it a challenging industry, being new and challenging with obstacles of outside of our control, change of laws and rules, and but now also being a dominant, male dominant industry.
Well, don't we for the most part function in male dominant industries? If you, other than maybe a few, but for the most part they're all male dominated industries. And I have like no advice on how to navigate that at all. I think coming into being in the industry, I think it's important to connect with people, like we were talking. It's important to get your group. I mean, because the one piece of advice I'd give women, I don't know how to effectively do that, because you need to be confident in yourself. You need to believe in yourself. You know, when you're told no, but you're right, you need to know that you need to believe in yourself, because all those empowerment things on your mirror and on your Facebook thing is not going to mean a thing unless you take it that step further. You're empowered enough. Believe in yourself and trust yourself. You're your best resource. You are your biggest obstacle, not believing in yourself. And then the one thing that I tell everyone around me, do not trust anyone. The only person you can trust is yourself.
Okay, so when my very first cannabis event, I went kind of not knowing what to expect. I looked at it as a foot in the door and I was going to be able to really learn a lot. And so I would ask people and I would let them know this is my first event and I'm interested in getting into the space. What advice do you have? And that day, I think I had 6 different people tell me, don't trust anybody, or that everybody thinks they know everything. So don't trust anybody.
Well, you know, for on a whole, I think the general, and I think maybe the attitude does vary from region depending on your experience. Um, but in general, what I hear here is everyone had to start somewhere. We cannot know everything about everything,
Right.
you know, and it is when a new person, you know, comes up, it's like, you know, and apologizes for being new, go, no, we were all new. And I think we need to keep that in mind. We were all new. There is nothing for us to draw upon in this industry. We're all just beginning, and there's always a lot to learn as it evolves. But seriously, do not trust anybody. And then I say, not even me, because if you're not going to trust anybody, then you can't trust me either. You have to trust yourself.
Okay.
Bottom line, trust yourself.
So I just recently attended a awesome, it was a venture capital event for women, and they were interviewing a panel of women here in Utah. And one of the questions was something similar to what I asked you is what's your advice in a male dominant industry or male dominant, and she's in tech, or this candidate was in tech. And so she said, you know, I really found a male counterpart or business partner that she leaned on and trusted, and when they were together they were able to work off of each other in a room. So whether it was female or male, right, being able to lean on both, because I think both male and female have such value add when we're coming into the industry. And so knowing that women in business are very well, my biggest supporters have been men. I mean, hands down when it comes to business success and my partnerships. However, more and more, the power that I find in what I'm able to accomplish with a group of women is, and I've always laughed that, oh, women can do it better. I in one ear and out the other until recently. I started working with this group of women that are powerhouses in the textile space. And it's just fascinating to me to watch how fast they move and are able to get things done. And so for me, I have found great success when I'm working with big groups of men and men in business, or any business, right? Being able to lean on both men and women in both situations has been extremely helpful for me, because I'll get into conversations, say, with a board and they're male dominant, and if I have another female in the conversation, it completely changes the dynamic. And so I think for both men and women in business, being aware of those benefits is equally as important as the confidence that you carry when you walk into that room. And so I took that away, and I was very aware at that point that there's times where diversity and inclusion is something that needs to be addressed, and it's a conversation that needs to be had, and understanding it's real. And as women in business and women looking for capital or to grow business, that, you know, surrounding yourself with the people that believe in the same vision or goal. I say trust, but I'm with you that, you know, we all have our own motives. We all have our own goals. And if you don't, you should. Otherwise, you're going to be spinning circles, right? But it doesn't mean that everybody else in the room has you as the priority, right? We all have our own selves and our own goals.
Yeah, it's finding you the right people and also be willing to let go of the wrong people.
Yes,
I mean,
sure,
you know, 'cause this is serious business.
sure.
And I've always done I've always done women's events and that were all women, and then I've done mixed uh, networking groups, and women network differently than men. Women do not follow directions, whereas men do, which I find very interesting. And mixed groups, it's a really that's always been a really good energy too, because we really need every perspective. You know, we need to enter business situations and negotiations with a perspective from all angles.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much all
Well,
I've got.
and we do business differently, right? We just do. You know, it's another piece of advice I heard for some of the women at this conference was know your numbers, you know, being able to speak the game.
Oh,
it's not all
definitely,
right? We're
definitely.
in business equally is, you know, yes, that I tend to be more emotional than some of my male counterparts. However, I can still speak my numbers and I can still talk about, you know, business and scaling versus my feelings, which I also talk a lot about.
Well, I think whatever business situation that we walk into or whatever business table we sit down at, it doesn't matter who the other people are. If we know what we're talking about and if we're there prepared,
Okay.
and then, you know, then we are respected, we are listened to. I mean, you just really have to know what you're talking about. And I'm never and hopefully I did know what I was talking about in the last hour.
We'll just wing it. That's all we do. We just wing it. Well, I sure enjoyed getting to know you, and I would love to get involved. I'd love for our association and your association, I'd love to have a big voice for women through the Global Hemp Association. I have a lot of women that want to get involved with other women, and so I'd love to be able to connect and collaborate there. So let's stay in touch. Also, anybody else that would like to get involved, please join our membership at globalhempassociations.org, and you can register for any committee meetings. Addison, I'd love to have you join as well or get involved. We have one monthly meeting where we go over agendas and initiatives, things that the association in general are working on, and that's open to the public. And then our members can join committees, and we have a number of different committees that are operating in all different verticals. And so I'd love to invite you and connect some of our, you know, powerhouse women. I'd love to have you there. So anybody else, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to have you guys on also. And besides that, Addison, we'll see you another time. Oh, Bessie says, yes, please. Bessie, hello. And hello, Ton, if you're still on. I saw you were messaging earlier. I really appreciate you guys saying hi. Bessie's awesome. She's got a great business going for herself. So, well, thank you, Addison. We'll see you later. I'll send you info.
Okay, and I will send you a list of women that I think are very impressive.
Yes, I love it. Okay, and then when we can be face-to-face, let's be sure we collaborate and get an event together. I would love to do something.
Yes, because the chamber, I feel, needs more focus on hemp, and we've been more concentrating on cannabis.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Yes, I would like to collaborate.
I would love to. Okay, well, have a good day, everybody. Thank you for joining.
You all have an awesome weekend.
Thank you.